There is no way you can set up a proper solar system without visiting the place, right? It's the same as how we're going to get a haircut from remote. Is that even possible? Solar, this is an investment that's going to keep, bringing money and revenue for you for the next 25 years. You can find installers, just an electrician and his mate. That installer, he doesn't have much time to offer you. You have great business out there that know the numbers, right? They know how much hours is necessary to give support. I'm Tommy.
And I'm Yury, and this is Solar Samurai.
After helping families across the east suburbs of Sydney taking control of their energy bills, we saw the truth. Solar isn't just about panels. It's about peace of mind, protecting your home, slashing your bills, and giving you freedom from rising energy prices.
We're here to cut through the noise, expose the problems in the industry, and help you to make smart, clean energy decisions.
Ready to become a solar samurai? Let's go! Today, we are covering everything you need to know about solar installations. Yury, recently you received a bunch of solar quotes. How did you go?
Yeah, I have received a quote, and it was a little overpriced in my opinion, and also the guy didn't show up to my home to inspect it. So I have hard time believing this is the quote that will be accurate and something that I will enjoy for a long time.
I'm sorry to hear about that, Yury. That happens every time, right? We see quotes ranging, let's call a 10 kilowatt system, right? We can see quotes from 2 grand all the way up to 20 grand. And then in the face of the homeowners, you see just lots of interrogation marks. And then I guess everyone is wondering why we have this massive gap, right? And that's the role of the specialist. And that's why we have this episode here today, to cover what are the differences, right? So number one, this guy, straight away, he missed in the most important topic, right? There is no way you can set it up a proper solar system without visiting the place, right? It's the same as how we're going to get a haircut, from remote. Is that even possible, right? So that's number one, right? You should never consider any quotes coming from overseas, coming from a phone, or you need a proper inspection, right? We need to install panels in the roof. How are we going to install the panels in the roof if you don't know how is the roof?
I agree with you, Tommy. The number of customers I went to where things changed on the spot is so high. I mean, customers told me they had a single-phase home when in reality they had 3-phase home. Some addresses could not be found on Google, and we end up at the place looking around and finding the houses in a different spot. And things like that really makes a difference when going for a quote. You cannot get an accurate quote without inspecting a site properly.
I'll give just one more example, just to wrap this topic. The other day, I was visiting all around Wollongong area, and then when I show up, the client had a quote that was for installing panels in his pergola. I jumped up in the roof and I checked. There was not even screws we could use in there. So literally, for doing the installation and for doing the thing that the client was quoted to, and obviously underquoted, we'll need to rip the roof, redo the roof structure in order to be able to fit the panels the way he wanted. So obviously, the quote that he had was absolutely misleading. Imagine yourself in the role of the homeowner. You'd take a couple of days off, and then you let's say you engage the guy, right? You'd take a full day off, and then the installers would show up, and then they would fluff around, and then, it's a 10,000 variation or 20,000 variation, 5 times the price that you were quoted on, right? So number one rule, never, ever take any quote from remote.
Another point there is a lot of companies try to make a commission on your installation and forget about it without providing any further service or assistance. Kind of companies that just try to make a sale and leave you out there. On the other spectrum, I see some quotes, especially online, that are promising me 13 kilowatt system for $3,000. And obviously, that doesn't sound like a right price for that side of system. What do you think?
There is a number of very, very cheap quotes out there. When it comes to cheap quotes, you can find two ways, right? You can find installers, just electrician and his mate, right? Doing his thing, couple years in business, right? You can find that, right? That installer, he doesn't have much time to offer you, right? His job is installing panels. He's not interested in the final outcome. He doesn't care how much money you are saving. He's just a tradesman, right? He doesn't even know who are the retailers available there, right? He doesn't know how to run your system. He's not going to give you, if your system is not performing, he's not going to take the time to read your bill and see this is what is wrong, they don't have the time, and they're not considering that in the quote. They're not putting those numbers for service or for customer support. They don't have those budget in the quote. And then what happens is you have a system, but sometimes that system doesn't perform, right? The same happens when you get a quote from overseas, which is even worse, right? From overseas, you get guys quoting you, checking your roof over the satellite. They don't know the roof structure, how it looks. They don't know what's in your electrical board. And obviously, they are really, really underquoting and selling only on price, which is very cheap. And obviously, you won't have the support necessary to get the bills low, right? On the other hand, you have installers, you have great business out there that know the numbers, right? They know how much hours is necessary to give support, what's necessary to educate the customer. It's not just having solar. You also need to know that you need to squeeze activities during the daylight so you actually use your solar. Having panels in the roof, it doesn't mean you have cheaper bills, right? This is part of what a good business can do for you. You're not just slapping panels, but have someone committed in reducing your electricity bills. Just quickly, if you are still overpaying for power, Solarama Rubra helps homeowners taking control with premium solar systems installed by local experts, no shortcuts, no stress.
Book your free, no obligation solar consult today using the link in the show notes. Save money, power your future, own your energy.
Now back to the episode.
That's a very great point. Another thing I see online a lot is solar panel groups and other similar entities. People say, oh, just go to your local Sparky, they're going to give you a great service. Yeah, I'm thinking, yeah, look, I've used some local engineers and local companies to fix my bike, for instance, and I did receive a great service. However, when it comes to solar panels, are you comfortable of trusting your installation, something that's supposed to stay on your roof for a decade, to someone who might have received, I don't know, divorce papers a month ago and about to go to Bali? Probably another great solution, isn't it? Probably not the most wise investment, in my opinion.
I agree with you. So solar is now a very specialized industry. It is a long-term investment, right? The same as any, big energy. So for instance, people talking about nuclear, it takes 100 years until the things make it up the investment. So for solar, this is an investment that's going to keep, bringing money and revenue for you for the next 25 years. So my important aspect in here is you want to have a proper business behind, right? You want the peace of mind that in 5 years, in 10 years, if you have an issue, you have someone you can contact, right? What I find is, and I say that being a tradesman as well, right? 10 years doing constructions around, right? So when you deal with tradesmen, today they pick up your phone. Next year or next week, they might be, pissed about business. They go Bali, they go elsewhere. Then there is no one in there to give you the support you need. And then you have your systems in there, for 10 years not performing. And then you just literally waste all the resource and the thing that should be bringing you a fast return and keep you bringing money is just wasting your roof real estate, really.
Cannot agree more. I was helping this elderly gentleman the other week, and the problem was very simple. We just had to restart the battery for him to fix the problem. And he tried to give a call to an electrician. An electrician just didn't pick up. So this is kind of service you sometimes get from sole traders. They're not there for you long term.
Another thing, Yury, that the installers oftentimes they want to do and they do is installing, as all they're interested in is getting work for them, right? They want to get more work and install them more for them, the better, right? But the other day, I had someone that called me and he said, I want to install some panels on an angle in my roof. I had a flat roof. I want to install some panels in an angle in there. But that thing in specific, if he would go to any installer and say, I want a panels with tilt, what the installers would do you think?
They're gonna install tilt.
Install the tilt. In this specific case, the tilt, the roof wasn't that big. But then when you do the tilt, you lose some roof space because you need to leave a gap between the rows. Otherwise, it impacts in the whole installation. And then when you leave that gap, you cannot fit the number of panels that the client needed. Right? And then other aspect about that is you lose on panels rebate as well, right? So if you tilt the way the client wanted, we would have less panels, we would have less rebates, and obviously we would have less result. So oftentimes what we need to do is just say no and just have a little chat with the homeowner, explain to them, homeowners, they're not designed to know about rebates, about tilting, about panel efficiency. They don't know that. It's our job of someone committed with the end result to explain the process, and sometimes that means saying no and explain why.
Agreed. And also another aspect of this is sometimes customers come with a predetermined panel sizes, system sizes, and they say, I want that, when in reality it just doesn't work in their case. For instance, they might get a too small of a PV system and too large of a battery, and the battery will never be charged based on that system. So it's all about having a conversation with the customer, see where do they want to be, and advise them on the best solution from the technological point of view, and that's what a good installer should do.
Absolutely. Just to wrap, just to take you back to the initial point we had, the consultation, the initial appointment, inspecting the roof, being on site and visiting the client, visiting the homeowner. Oftentimes, I ask for for whoever is involved in the family, right, to be present in that meeting, right? Even sometimes the kids around, I try to, to be more dynamic, and sometimes I do the duck curve, I explain in a nice way so people can understand nicely, because even the kids are involved in the process, right? So, for instance, if you just have solar panels, you need to use the energy, and who is going to use the energy, you think? It's the mom that's in the home office, right? So that mom could possibly turn the dishwasher during the daylight. It could turn the dryer, the laundry, right? So it's not just having the panels. You need to know how to use it.
So guys, in this episode, we've looked why do you need to go with a professional installer and not just rely on the cheapest quote you can get online, especially if they never show up to your home and have a chat to you about what are your goals. In the end, you're putting something that is very expensive and supposed to stay on your roof for well over a decade. And also, your home is your largest investment. So you gotta make sure you are protected and it's not gonna cause any trouble down the line. Just to sum up a few points, have a look at how credible your installer is, have a look on their reviews, make sure they come on site, make sure they explain to you how does the system is going to work, and they ask you what actually do you want to achieve out of the system.
We are here for you. If you have any questions now, next day, whenever you're interested in getting a solar solution for your own specific home, please drop us a comment. Would love to cover. You can even give us a new topic for our next episode. Would love to hear from you. Thanks for tuning in to Solar Samurai.
If you got value from this episode, the best way to support the show is by leaving a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify.
And don't forget to subscribe on YouTube so you never miss out an episode. You can also connect with us on Instagram at solarrun_Marubra.
See you in the next episode.